reporter Samantha-Jo joins us live now, looking to the political implications in the midterms. You're joining us from Capitol Hill. Samantha-Jo, what can you tell us?
Well, good evening, Sharon. The swift rebuke by Florida Republicans certainly illustrate just how critical this voting bloc is in a state where races are really decided by such slim margins. And on the one-year anniversary of Hurricane Maria, the president's comments loom large.
It's politically harmful.
As candidates running for Florida's highest elected offices enter the final stretch of the race, President Trump is complicating his own party's play for Puerto Rican voters.
It's completely unhelpful. I think this was another case of the president tweeting first and considering the facts and political consequences later.
In the wake of Hurricane Maria 1 year ago, thousands of Puerto Ricans fled to one of the most contested political battlegrounds in the country, the I-4 corridor. Republican strategist Brian Walsh says candidates who have spent months courting this key electorate had no choice but to distance themselves from the president.
He put Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott and members of the Florida congressional delegation in a very awkward position.
Florida Republicans, led by Governor Rick Scott, have made a concerted effort in recent years to court this group of voters who traditionally favor Democrats. The governor continues to visit the island, making his 8th trip Thursday since the hurricane.
Members of the Puerto Rican community know who he is, they know what he stands for.
The president continues to have an outsized influence on races in Florida and across the country, but experts say his comments may hurt some Republicans more than others.
The good news for Governor Scott, I think it's a little easier for him to separate himself from the president's tweets versus, say, Ron DeSantis, who really pegged his primary campaign on running side by side with President Trump.
The big question is, will the president's statements be enough to move the needle with Puerto Rican voters?
You know, there's roughly 150,000 voters from Puerto Rico now living in Florida who are eligible to vote in that state. But I do think it's an open question politically for both parties. Will they come to the polls in November?
While Hispanic voter registration has increased by more than 100,000 in the state, it's really unclear how many of those voters are Hurricane Maria evacuees. We're live tonight on Capitol Hill. Samantha-Jo, Spectrum News 13.